Welcome back to Real Estate with Mariah and Spence. It is a beautiful, beautiful day in Oregon today. We are getting ready. We've got a long to-do list today besides our real estate things. We're getting ready to head out for a 12-day road trip tomorrow. But when this video goes live, we will already be back because it's not a good idea to put that on the internet, but we have videos scheduled to go out, if that makes sense, for the next few weeks anyway. So we will already be back by the time this video goes out. But it's been a
nothing wrong with some family time.
Busy day so far, and there's a lot left to do, but we're excited to just take a minute of a break from the busyness, just like, sit and have a real estate conversation. And today we're going to answer some buyer and seller questions from you guys. So
buyer and seller questions.
Buyer and sellers. We're a little bit all over the board. Yeah.
I love it. I love answering questions because this is what we do. This is our full-time job. We provide you guys with the service, and usually in order to get a service, you ask for service sometimes. And a lot of our clients, you'll probably cover some of what I'm going to talk about right now, is like, what do you do when you don't know how to get a home loan? Where do you go to? Or, man, I got some repair work to do on my house. Do you have a good recommendation of somebody I could use?
Yeah.
Maybe a lender. It's more about like the referral-based professionalism that we really do have strong strategies to get you where you want to be. And I would say we have spent literal years building this vendor list for you guys. So we don't get anything in return. We're not paid on sponsorship for anybody that we ever refer out to a client. We do it because they get the best results, and that's really important in my industry, and obviously to service you guys when you're in need.
This list has really been tweaked to perfection because it took us a lot of trial and error to get here.
Yeah.
We did not just throw, we know someone who does this, we'll add them. Like, these are people we have worked with many times and get great results from every time, which is why we want our clients to be able to use these resources as well. So before we get into these questions though, we've seen some new faces on here lately. Let's just introduce ourselves real quick.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can always forget that. We've been doing this show for how long now? Just over 2.5 years?
A couple years, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years. I mean, we've been doing this week in, week out. And we definitely get to have fun with it. And it's time for Mariah and I to really sit down, let the madness stay behind us, and just focus on you guys, our audience, and just give you some really good answers if you have questions.
Yeah. So if you are a home buyer or home seller, but especially like first time home buyer, then head over to our channel because we have, like Spencer said, years of free, really important information that you want to know if you're going to be buying a house. So, but anyway,
let's introduce ourselves.
I'm Mariah.
And I'm Spencer.
And we are a top producing husband and wife real estate team here in Oregon. We come on here, like Spencer said, every week and just sit down and have like a laid back conversation about real estate. Yeah. Now we do have a separate YouTube channel. It's called Oregon Homes with Mariah, Vettrus, Crawford. And we will be doing a Q&A on that channel after this one that's a little bit more like moving to Oregon, relocating to Oregon specific. That's where really those questions are coming from. And for this channel, we try to keep it just more broad and open. It's not just Oregon real estate. These are real estate questions that you could benefit from no matter where in the world you're living. So that's a little bit.
I love it. I love it. No, that's a great thing because, I mean, when we have been doing this for so long, 2.5 years, over 2 years, I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah.
We do forget, of all of the topics we have talked about. That was one big concern when we started this show is
how are we going to not repeat ourselves?
How are we going to keep on going? I mean, and as time goes on, you never have generally the same show or the same comments because with Mariah and I, this is our full-time job as realtors and we're in this real estate industry, and every week is a different week. Every day is a different day. I have so many great conversations with new clients, past clients, vendors, lenders, and it's really cool because I get to express them to you guys as our audience, and you guys can understand in a way what we're doing on our end, but also how we can use that to benefit you when you are entering the home sale or the home purchasing process.
Yeah, we really do try to not repeat ourselves over here. We want to be giving you guys
It's not fun.
fresh new information. So if you also do have any, questions like we're answering today, or topics you would like us to just do a full show on, feel free to reach out, shoot us an email or comment below. All right, let's get into these questions. The first one is from a home seller. She says, I have $500 to spend on staging or sprucing up my place. What should I focus on before I sell?
Man, $500. I look at that as a realtor that lists homes. I'm a heavy listing agent, and I just don't even know what $500 would get me when it comes to staging a home. You could always go to your Hobby Lobby and stuff like that and spruce it up like a stager would on your own dollar.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what would you do with $500, Mariah?
I would say let's focus all on the exterior. Let's focus on the outside. Let's get your curb appeal really, really awesome. Because
That's a great answer.
I have sat down with buyers before and just scrolled through homes together, looking at homes that are, looking at all the homes that are in their price range or whatever, back when people did more things in person. I feel like real estate's changed so much since when I got into the business. Now,
really has.
Nobody wants to meet in person. Everything's over Zoom, which is fine. I love it.
Our strategies are always changing though, for our sellers especially.
But I just remember, back in the day, sitting next to a buyer in person and just looking through the pictures of the homes that were on the market that fit what they were looking for. And so many times there would be a house that they wouldn't even want to stop and look at the pictures because they saw the front photos of the outside were just kind of crappy,
hideous.
Not really, didn't have great curb appeal. And they could have, a lot of times they were missing out on homes that would have been a good fit for them if they could have just overlooked that a little. And so I would say, okay, go get, some cute things to put around your front door, a little plant and a welcome mat and a reef on your door. Clean your door, do your pressure washing. I know that's not necessarily something that's going to cost you money, but get it spruced up, have a landscaper come, like whatever that looks like to you. That's really where I would put the focus, because I know, like you said, you're like $500, that can't get you much, but if you're focusing on, material wise, if you're like going to buy products to put in your house, but I would say focus on that front door. What can you buy that's going to just make that look a little bit nicer?
I think that's huge value.
Some flowers.
That's some massive value and advice, Mariah. I'm glad you went with the exterior and curb appeal approach, because realistically, $500. It sounds like a lot of money because it is, but when we talk about inflation, the cost of goods, our markets, it really only gets you so far when you talk about items you're going to be placing in your home throughout the listing for staging. So curb appeal is massive, and a lot of this you can do yourself too to save you a pretty penny. And I call this sweat equity. Everybody has hands, right? For the most part, we can always go out, take an hour, do one flower bed a night, 5 nights, 5 flower beds. That's usually what you're going to have in your whole house. Clean up those flower beds. You got a lawnmower, go mow your yard real quick. Got a weed eater, go edge the yard real quick, make a straight edge. I spend 1 hour a week on our current home. All of our family says, well, Spence, why don't you get a landscaper? Personally, I do it because it's therapeutic. That's my personal opinion. But ultimately, I understand the value of this curb appeal and why I want to keep our home in a consistent image and keep everything up for when we do decide to resell it. Maybe that's 10 years from now. But ultimately, curb appeal really is that like first impression, that wow factor that most buyers are seeing from online. And one thing I will caution you as a seller to not allow happen to your listing is you do your curb appeal, you did everything we just explained, and then you get a listing agent and they come in and they take a photo with their iPhone. That just hurts you a little bit because your picture quality isn't the greatest and it's going to be pixelated and there's no professional photos. There's no photoshopping, highlighting color schemes and stuff that were really made for your home, especially if you have flowers. Don't let your current listing agent take photos from their iPhone or even themselves.
If they're not going to hire a professional, then don't hire them.
Yes. There are some circumstances where it's like, okay, yeah, we understand this. Let's take like 6-7 photos on my phone or my camera and allow that. But in most residential sales, I'm going to clarify that. Not all,
rare.
But most residential sales, you will want to have professional photos done. And you are not paying for this as a seller. You better not be. Let your seller's agent pay for this. That should be part of their commission. That's, but ultimately, if they don't sell the home, it's money lost for them. So I always love having that as my backing as to like why this home does need to sell, because that's usually my first step of investing into a property that I'm listing, because I'm putting money down. I'm never going to see this money again, hiring these photos to be performed. So just take note of that. It's like the realtor's earnest money in a real estate transaction, if you can relate it to that way. But definitely like curb appeal. I love that. That's good. And I really do think $500 can get you somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether that's spreading of the bark dust. I know that gets pretty spendy. It's like $80, not a square foot, or it might be a 10 by 10. Yeah. Somewhere like that area. But I mean, it can get rather costly when you're dealing with bark dust, but ultimately $500 can definitely get the job done.
Yeah. Okay. The next question is, how will the presidential election affect the state of the housing market?
Well, there's a lot of factors. I mean, I'm not a massive economist, but I do listen and I do have my own personal opinions. I don't want to get too political, but there are some things that have increased inflation over the last 2-3 years exponentially that Americans, and myself included, don't agree with. And we can all see gas prices, how they're elevating to about $4 a gallon. June of last summer was about $5 a gallon. I don't think us Americans really appreciated that, and there were some things that we could have kept in place that were shut down. And I think if you guys are understanding what I'm talking about, you'll know what I mean.
That's all true, but I think when it comes to like the state of the housing market, especially with how things are right now, because we are in a market that is so unique and it has its own pain points that really we have not seen before ever.
Right.
And because of the nature of the market, because the problem is supply and demand, I don't think that the president, whoever is in office, is really going to affect that too much, to be honest, because everyone, I get asked this question all the time as a real estate agent. When are home prices going to drop? I really want to buy. I want to be able to own, but like home prices are so high. When are they just going to drop? I get asked that like way too much. And to be honest, there is really no sign. Everyone is predicting there's no sign that home prices are just going to just drop massively. And the reason is because of supply and demand. We have a huge shortage of homes being on the market, like an insane stagnant amount of homes that we have not experienced before, like an extreme low level of inventory. And without this sudden rush of homes coming onto the market, home prices cannot just drop. And why would all these people just list their home for sale when they have a 3% interest rate? We know the average person, the interest rate is the average mortgage. I believe I heard it was like 1 point above or below like 4%, which is super low. How are all these people just going to decide to list their house when they have so much equity? They're not going into foreclosure because they have so much equity. So that's the problem.
Yeah.
Home prices are not just going to drop. And anyway,
that's the huge part. And the thing is, though, whoever is in office, I believe, is strategizing and will strategize to remain and keep the market as stagnant as possible. So leveling out the line and keeping it as smooth as possible. So when an election does happen, I mean, there's not complete chaos. So each party is, not swung one way or the other. I mean, that's pretty huge, and that is political. But ultimately, the housing market, it's a tough deal, because when we are stuck, like you said, sellers for the most part at a 3 or 4% interest rate, what else are you buying out there for 7 or 6% interest rate that really makes sense because of how low inventory is?
Yeah.
It makes everything so much more difficult. And realtors ourselves, we're seeing that it's harder for home sales to really happen, or to motivate a seller at least, Because I used to be able to say, we'll get your home listed and we'll just say it's contingent upon seller finding replacement property. Well, the problem with that right now is there's no real replacement properties that are valuable enough for the seller to transition into. And especially with this new interest rate, it's really got to be the property. So that's those deals, when you see those in the property descriptions, you might want to stay away from them unless that seller's already found the replacement property. Because, I have been running into timeline issues on those. But for the state of real estate in the upcoming election, I do think, and I'm going to jump on the bandwagon here. There was that Shark Tank gal, the blonde, short haircut.
Barbara.
Okay, she's everywhere right now, especially on TikTok and stuff.
TikTok.
Well, it's because realtors like ourselves, we like what she said, and I think it actually, it's logical.
She has a lot
that's
of
what
good
I
advice.
like about it.
Yeah, she does.
She has a real estate background.
Yeah,
and that's what I love about it.
Yeah,
lenders are jumping on this bandwagon. Think about this: if Feds were to drop the interest rates to a 5%, whatever, there is going to be a buyer feeding frenzy, is what I'm going to call it. Imagine all the fish that have been starving; they're going to get fed, and they're going to come up to the surface and eat. Now, they're going to find whatever property is somewhat likable. It's on market. They're going to buy it.
But then what's that going to do to home prices?
I don't
even want to know. I don't even want to know.
That's the problem.
Sounds scary.
Sellers are going to be able to possibly get their 40 over ask prices again. They're going to get appraisals waived again. They're going to get their inspection periods waived again. So we're already somewhat in a seller's market if the sellers are willing to be patient about it.
Yeah.
But here in probably 3 to 6 months from now, oh my goodness, I see something happening, and it's going to be probably towards the more end of 2023, early 2024. That sounds crazy to say in 2024. But that's going to be probably when I would say things are going to really take place real estate wise. So if you are a buyer right now and you are just sitting, and I kind of don't blame you, to be honest. I see these rates and they're astronomically high. But the reality is, if you're interested in being in this market, be out in this market, call us, let us know, contact your local realtor. If you don't have one, let us know. We'll send you a great referral in your area. But be in the market, because there are deals to be made. I'm talking with listing agents all the time. I just showed over 16 homes in the last 4 days. And this is wild, because I'm looking at Mariah, I'm like, I never showed this many homes, ever. It's weird to me. But I talk to the listing agents usually after every showing or at the end of the day, because they're checking in, and they are seeing and telling me kind of like, hey, send us an offer. My seller's motivated. We're willing to work with you. And my number one question to them after I'm finished with the showing is this: is your seller willing to buy down my client's interest rate? Is your seller willing to pay for my buyer's closing costs? And most of the texts that I sent, they replied back with, yes, just put something in writing. That tells me, let's ask for the moon and get a response back, and maybe we can get 10 under ask price with closing costs and a buy down rate. You just never know. So if you're one of those buyers and you're just sitting, maybe there's a home out there you actually like and your eyes on. Go out and try and get it. Why not?
The big thing I think that a lot of buyers who are waiting for interest rates to lower don't understand is that it will not be like that when interest rates are lower and everyone's going to come out of the woods and start buying again. No listing agent is going to say, send us an offer with closing costs. Asking for closing costs to be paid for, that would be laughable in the market like that. Right. And so there's just, like we always say, one thing we do, we say we don't like to repeat ourselves, but one thing that we do repeat often, because it ties into a lot of our episodes, is that there are pros and cons to buying in any market. You can't really time the market. The best time to buy is when it works for you and the numbers make sense and you can afford that payment. And there's so much value in homeownership. The best time to buy is today, and the second best time is yesterday, because I know if I didn't buy yesterday, I would have wished that
I could not imagine.
I was already building that equity, and I would have missed out on so much equity. And every time we've bought, we have heard from well-meaning, friends and family, like, why are you buying right now? The market is so high. Home prices are so inflated. You're they're about to crash. You're buying at the worst time. What are you doing? We've heard that every single time we've bought, and we bought 4 houses over the last few years, and every single time we bought them and sold them, we've made so much more than we ever could have expected. So you can't time the market. Don't listen to everything that, your uncle and whoever's giving you this advice is saying.
And on a personal note, though, through every home purchase that we have made over the last 5 years, besides on one, because it was one of those sweetheart deals. Yeah. I was always kind of timid. I was nervous.
We always thought we were buying at like the tip. Like, this is the peak.
Nervous.
Home prices are only going down from here. And then they kept going up every time.
It's so funny though, because right now everybody's talking about their interest rates, and we talk about it all the time. Current sellers, they have that 3-4% interest rate. Some have 2% interest rates. When we were buying, and I got a 2.99 because I wanted to brag that I have a 2% interest rate, technically 3%. 2.99 is my interest rate.
But you got the 9.
I got it.
You got the 2 in there somewhere.
I got it. So when we were buying and I got that rate, I never really looked at it like down the road as to how that might actually affect me as a home seller.
Like it
kind of holds you in.
Into the home,
it locks you in.
Which is why everyone isn't selling, which is why home prices can't drop.
Exactly. And so even with the cash out refi, I mean, we put a ton of work into this. A lot of people, I'm a really big fan of the Burr technique, especially if you're a flipper investor. This house was completely ideal for that. But interest, it went up it doubled in a year and a half from the sale purchase. So you're not going to refinance and then flip in your rate. And by the way, if you're buying right now as an investor or investment property or a secondary investment, I was just on my phone call with the lender this week, and I mean, he said rates were astronomically high, and it's because obviously you're higher risk for the banks and loans. And he was telling me it's like a 8% plus interest rate on these investment properties.
It's a good time to buy an investment property if you have cash.
If you have cash, yes. If you have cash, go out and try and make a deal for an investment property.
Yeah,
which I have a pocket listing if you want. Portland, Oregon. Let me know.
Ooh.
Under 200 grand.
So our last question is it a good idea right now to take out a loan on an investment property? You kind of just talked about that.
I did. Wow. I talked about that.
Yeah.
But that conversation literally, it just segued down the road because one of my buyers, he lives in Utah. He's wanting to be here in Oregon. And he's wanting to buy a secondary property for a family member, himself, whatever, when they come to Oregon. And he's going through the loan options and what makes sense for him to keep a monthly mortgage where he wants it. And ideally, traditionally, yes, we would just take out an investment property loan and put 20% down and call it an investment, because that's truly what it is. Here in 5 years, he's going to resell it and move on with his life. But the downside is interest rates. They're so high. And ideally, if he can just get a cosigner or a secondary loan signer on this, it could be a first-time home purchase for that family member, and now his interest rate just dropped like 3 points. So that's possibly the route that we're taking. And if you want a good lender that has creative solutions for you, that's only going to save you money, let us know. We'll send you his way. And he does terrific work. He's just on it. So
that's really good.
Yeah. At the end of the week, hopefully we get their finances all wrapped up and we actually start submitting offers on some of the homes we showed.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening in all the way through. If you listened all the way through, give this video a thumbs up. Share it with a friend who is wanting to buy a house. And we will see you guys next week.